What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today, where is Rian Johnson's trilogy? What is going on here, Disney, Lucasfilm? You guys announced over a year ago that this guy, before The Last Jedi came out, you announced that he had a trilogy coming. You could not stop talking about how great he was and how wonderful of a job that he did with The Last Jedi. And then the movie released. And then it's been a downward spiral since. And we have continued to see Rian Johnson be extremely arrogant on social media, dismissing all of the claims of the fans that had problems, calling us man babies, dismissing us, not acknowledging the opinions of women and non-white dudes, only giving the criticisms to the white men that he continues to say he doesn't need to be in Star Wars, yet he's a white man and he signed on for a trilogy. Yeah, good job on that one, Rian Johnson. You thought we forgot about that one? We didn't. Rian Johnson himself said we need less white dudes directing Star Wars. Then he goes and takes a trilogy as a white dude. Classic virtue signaling right there. Classic SJW mentality. The left-wing nutjob white guy hating on white guys. Classic. Anyway, last September, Bob Iger did an interview where Bob Iger basically took all of the blame for Kathleen Kennedy's terrible decision-making, because Kathleen Kennedy has been in hiding since The Last Jedi. Kathleen Kennedy is a terrible leader. Kathleen Kennedy is a front-runner. As soon as things gets a little tough, Kathleen Kennedy hides and Bob Iger has to do her job for her. And now, because they are constantly virtue signaling, talking about respect women, now they can't fire her because she's a woman, because that would go against their narrative. So now Bob Iger has to come and publicly take up for Kathleen Kennedy and own all of her terrible decision making. So when he did this interview, he talked about the slowdown of Star Wars and how after Solo they're going to start slowing down, and he took all of the blame for Star Wars making too many movies, and basically they were saying there was too much going on, and that was not the case, by the way, Bob Iger. There's not too much Star Wars. There's not any good Star Wars. That's the problem. It's just not good. It's that simple. The Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to thrive because the movies are good. It's not a problem of too many Star Wars. It's not enough good Star Wars. That's the problem. But that's neither here nor there. During the interview, he specifically talked about Episode 9 being directed by J.J. Abrams, and he talked about Benioff and Weiss, and I think they're calling theirs a series of movies, but he didn't mention Rian Johnson. He specifically did not mention Rian Johnson. Now, we've heard Rian Johnson as of about, 8-9 months ago. He's confirmed that yes, he is working on his trilogy, but again, this thing was announced well over a year ago, prior to The Last Jedi coming out. We have not seen any evidence to support that this project is actually happening. We have heard no official press releases from Disney in the past, 6, 7, 8 months or anything. We've heard nothing about this project. Nothing. My belief is that Rian Johnson is no longer doing a trilogy. That's my belief. Now, before all of you SJW fanboys out there go ahead and start saying, I'm saying this, I am not saying I have information. I'm not saying anything other than I am making an educated guess that Rian Johnson is no longer part of this trilogy that they announced prior to The Last Jedi. It's an educated guess. If I'm wrong, I will admit I'm wrong. I'm a sports fan. We are constantly making predictions. This is who I am. I am constantly making predictions. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I will admit I'm wrong. I'm not scared to admit I'm wrong. I don't know why everyone that's on this SJW side seems to think you can never admit when you're wrong. If Rian Johnson is in fact still doing this trilogy, I will admit I'm wrong. Just like I admitted I was wrong when Kathleen Kennedy kept her job, even though I still do not think that she is actually doing the job of a president, which I think it's obvious she's not, but she's a figurehead at this point. They're too scared to fire a woman. With Rian Johnson, I feel like if they announce Rian Johnson's trilogy is no more, then it's going to be a pretty obvious sign that Kathleen Kennedy is no more also, but because they're kind of one and the same at this point. They're tied to each other publicly, just because Kathleen Kennedy was so adamant about praising Rian Johnson. Now, we've heard reports that Bob Iger does not like Rian Johnson. We've heard reports that Bob Iger can't stand Rian Johnson, and he told Kathleen Kennedy that they were moving in the wrong direction, and she would not really listen, and so he basically took a step back to let her fail on her own. And of course, Bob Iger is a political guy, so he's going to play the political game on a public standpoint. But we've also heard reports that he's a big fan of J.J. Abrams. So with all of these rumors going around, it points to the fact that Rian Johnson is no longer part of Lucasfilm and no longer doing this trilogy. And if that's the case, that's the smartest decision they've made in a long, long time. Because like I've said, at this point, Rian Johnson does not need to be within 500 miles of any production of Star Wars ever. Ever. If he has to travel through a state, then he either needs to get a court order or he just needs to drive around, because he doesn't need to be anywhere near a Star Wars production. And if Rian Johnson is in fact no longer on this trilogy, that will be the first sign that we see that Lucasfilm is finally cleaning out the closet. Finally. They're finally getting the trash out. But for some reason, they will not comment on this publicly. Again, why did Bob Iger not mention Rian Johnson's trilogy? Bob Iger is not a dumb man. Okay? He's not. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's saying. When he does these interviews, they're always softballs. He always has all the questions told to him in advance, so he knows all of his answers. It's all political. It's all staged. So why did he not mention Rian Johnson's trilogy? There's a reason for that. Why have we not seen any evidence that this trilogy is happening? I don't know. Currently, Rian Johnson has this other movie he's working on, which I have absolutely no interest to watch. But moving forward, my prediction, just a prediction, SJWs, this is something that people do, okay? And if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. But my prediction is Rian Johnson does not have a trilogy. And at some point within the next, hell, I don't know, I would think before Celebration, we're going to find something out. You would think, right? You would think we would find something out before Star Wars Celebration in April in Chicago. I'll be there, by the way. So that's my prediction. Rian Johnson does not have a trilogy. We're going to find out before Star Wars Celebration. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.